Hey guys, it's Ashley, and in today's vlog, I am going to be reading Keeper of the Lost Cities because I've realized that if I don't read it in the next 6 days, I will have to give it back to my library, where 2 people are already waiting for it, and I don't know how long I will have to wait to get it again. So we're gonna read it and vlog it right now. Not sure what else I'll be able to get to in this vlog, but for now, I'm just going to read that book, Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and we'll see what happens from there. Keeper of the Lost Cities. Wow, somebody on Google Books said that this is the best book ever. So, I mean, it doesn't give me their username, but if this person says it's the best book ever, it's got quite the title to live up to. Anyway, I was trying to see what the synopsis was about so that I could tell you guys, but for some reason it doesn't. Oh, here it is. In this riveting series opener, a telepathic girl must figure out why she is the key to her brand new world before the wrong person finds the answer first. This special edition contains beautiful black and white illustrations and commentary from Shannon Messenger. That's not in my book. But yeah, so it's a middle grade book. It sounds like it's gonna follow sort of like a chosen one path. So eager to see why so many of you guys constantly say that this is a really good series, a really good middle grade series, I should say, and that I should totally read it. So we're going to find out if it's going to live up to what you guys say and the, you know, review of best book ever from Google Books user. Anyway, I just gotta read this book before I have to give it back to my library, so here we go. Okay, I don't know what it is about this story, but I'm like flying through it really fast. I'm on page 113. It's only been like an hour and a half maybe? I'm liking it so far, but I think because it was written in like 2012 and I've read so many books like this before, it's just like kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, oh, it's kind of similar to everything else, but I do like it. It's not a bad story by any means. So far we've got our main character, Sophie. She's a telepath. She's been able to read minds, and then she's at the museum with her school one day. Oh, she's a child prodigy, by the way. She is 12 and she's a high school senior. So she's in the museum with her school on a field trip, and she meets a boy named Fitz who can also read minds, and then from there everything spirals out of control. She learns that she's an elf. She learns that elves live in this other dimension and that humans are forbidden to be visited, and that there's all these things that exist in this whole other world, and there's this academy called Foxfire that she's going to be attending because she's a telepath. She's apparently the strongest keeper because nobody can break into her mind. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, but the main thing that I can't get around, that I can't like wrap my head around, is that when she's nervous, she picks out her eyelashes. I'm sorry, but that just sounds really painful. Like, girl, somebody needs to help you. You need to stop that, because that's just like, I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, you're just like picking your eyelashes out. Sorry, she does that when she's nervous, or when she's like, you know, it's a nervous habit that she has. So I'm sorry for making fun of it, but like, what? Yeah, but the big thing right now is that there's so much stuff that you just don't understand yet, because this is, again, one of those, like, you know, oh, chosen one, like, stories where she was raised outside of the world that she belongs to, so she doesn't know anything about this place. So you're going in with just about as much information as she is. There's this mention of this person named Prentice who apparently had hidden her for 12 years among the humans, so it's like, you don't know who Prentice is. Is he her birth father? Is he supposed to be like the villain who's supposedly gone but will be coming back? Is Alden the villain? Alden, who's Fitz's father, who is, you know, supposedly been searching for her for 12 years, and like, you know, all of these, I'm so confused. There was also the prologue. The prologue was, it was clearly like a scene that either happened toward the end of the story or, you know, something like that, but it mentioned so many things that I just have no idea what they were, and I just think we're so unnecessary for a prologue. Like, wait, hang on. Oh, sorry, a preface, my bad. So Sophie's been kidnapped, blah, blah, blah. She's a hostage. Oh my god, are they going to kill her? And then it says, would the Black Swan really destroy their own creation? What was the point of Project Moonlark then? What was the point of the Everblaze? This is a preface. I haven't even gotten into page 1 yet, and you're just starting to throw all of these words at me like I'm going to understand, or even maybe even like remember these words as I'm reading. I already forgot the Moonlark thing, and that's already been brought up within the first 100 pages, and I already forgot that I read the word in the preface. So yeah, things are going well. No, but I do like the story so far. I can definitely see why this would be like a really popular series. I feel like it has similar qualities to like all of the other series that I've read, where the character is being like thrust into this new world and is supposedly, you know, the chosen one and things like that. So I definitely like reading this sort of story, but again, it's been done so many times that like I'm gonna need something a little more to like attach me to this story in order to get me to want to keep reading. I like Sophie, I like Fitz. She just left her family, so we're starting Act 2 now. We're starting to get into the meat of the story. It's a nearly 500-page book, so that's fun. I'm just gonna keep reading now, so I have something else to talk about later. Okay, so I don't know what I was expecting last night, but I was not expecting to get through like 65 to 70% of this book in one evening. When did I start this book last night? I started it at, it was like 8 o'clock, I think, and I was reading it until 1 in the morning, and I'm 73% of the way through. I'm on page 378. How did I get here? Anyway, so let me try to form some kind of a coherent thought as to what I think so far, since I've gotten so far through this book already. The first thing I want to say is that I'm definitely enjoying it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten so far into it. It definitely reads as more of an upper middle grade story, like Nevermore, like The Heroes of Olympus, like that kind of thing, which I prefer. I love middle grade, but I don't like the really like, you know, young middle grade, if that makes sense, because I am 23 and I want, you know, some like, sort of adventure and I don't know, like, you know, challenge to try to guess the plot twists and things like that. So I like upper middle grade. I like this story because of that. I like Sophie, but what I don't like is that it's sort of becoming, or at least you're supposed to assume that it's becoming, this sort of like, I don't want to draw this comparison, but like Bella Swan kind of thing from Twilight, where it's like she's the new girl and it feels like everybody has a crush on her for some odd reason and you can't really figure out why, except at least in Twilight it didn't make any sense because Bella was like nothing special and she was the most boring person in the world. But in here, at least it makes a little bit more sense because she's like, ooh, the chosen one, and nobody knows why she has brown eyes, and nobody knows why she was living with humans, and nobody knows what kind of power she has, and all this kind of stuff. So at least in this book, it makes sense. But yeah, the whole like, you know, everybody has a crush on her, and that, a little unbelievable personally for me, but I mean, I do really like the friend group that she's created. I think that all the characters that have been introduced so far I'm really like happy with. Like I really like them. Particularly I like Keith. I think that he's got this mixture of like snarky, sarcastic, like troublemaker mixed with like, you know, the family background of Draco Malfoy, if you want to think of it that way, where like his father is just like not very much liked and he seems to have this like really like mean personality and like nobody really likes him, like I just said, and he like Keith is just kind of like there like, you know, I don't like my father either, don't pair me with him, like that kind of thing. I love Dex, I love Marabella, I love Biana, even though I still think there's some kind of like a plot twist that's gonna happen with her because she was just not very friendly in the beginning of this story. And then there's Fitz, and then like I just like all of the characters so far. I might accidentally get into some spoilers here, so if I find when I'm editing that I am talking about something spoilery, I'll put a picture of the book cover in one of the corners. That way for those of you who maybe haven't read this story or don't want to be spoiled, you can like mute until the book cover goes away. I thought that I was on the right track with thinking that like Prentice was her father and Jolie was her mother, because I thought that in the beginning of the story that they said that Jolie had to like died in some sort of like, you know, light travel disappearing incident thing, but then later they said that she died in a fire. So like would that have anything to do with Sophie's dreams about fire and like all of the fire that's been happening and stuff like that? But apparently Tiergan said that Prentice is not her father, and Alden said that she's been like made, so like was she like artificially created? Like is she not really like what is happening here? I really like the school, the whole like magic school kind of thing that's happening. I think that it's really fun and I want to know like, I don't know, I want to know what everybody can do. I want to know like what powers people have. I want people to realize that she's like super powerful and stuff like that. I keep getting really annoyed every time Sophie tries to get answers from somebody and they're like, you know, oh, you don't need to know that. No need to worry. And I'm like, How many times are you gonna tell this girl not to worry about her past? She's clearly distraught. It's clearly causing her problems. She clearly wouldn't be getting into this much of a mess if she knew, you know, any of the details that she could be aware of and try to prevent. So like, why are you trying to keep her from all of this stuff? If anything goes wrong, it's literally just because of the adults not wanting to tell her what she needs to know. Like, it's literally just your fault, people. So like, own up to it and just do it now. This whole thing with Grady and Edeline, I feel so bad for them and like their daughter who died and everything like that. But at the same time, I'm like, what are they hiding from Sophie? What is everybody hiding from Sophie? It's pissing me off at this point. Tell her things so that I know things, because I'm suffering too. I want to know. But yeah, I just want her to like find a family. Like, I want her to really like feel like she's part of a family again, like she's, you know, belongs in this world, because she still feels like a weird outcast still, because again, nobody's telling her anything. So I just want her to belong, you know? I know that a lot of people said that the first book was not as good, or like some people said, oh, I didn't like the first book, but I got to the second one and it's much better and the series gets better. But I'm liking the first one, to be honest. Yeah, it definitely follows a lot of the same sort of tropes and tendencies and things that we see in like, you know, first books, chosen one, you know, tropes, that kind of thing. But I never said I didn't like that. So I'm enjoying it, and I'm eager to see where this is gonna go and what's gonna happen. So I just got home from work and I thought that I would film a little clip before I take my clothes off because I look cute right now. Also, I was wearing a hat all day today, so please ignore how like flat and gross my hair looks right now. I did manage to read a little bit more before I left this morning, and I finally caught up to where the preface started, which was Sophie getting kidnapped, which isn't a spoiler. It literally happens before you even get to chapter 1. But I finally caught up to that moment, and I'm still super confused with what's going on. I have this feeling that we're like really not gonna learn anything until like the next couple of books. But I can tell you that I am eager to read the next couple of books, because the whole time that I was at work, I just kept thinking about reading this book and like wanting to know how it was gonna end and wanting to know what the other books were about. So I think I'm gonna move on to the next one. I also like how the story with Grady and Edeline, who are her like foster parents in a way in this new world. I like how the story with them sort of is wrapping up. I think that it's very happy and wholehearted, and it makes me smile. I'm still, like I said, super confused with what's going on, like who Sophie is, where she came from, like what her deal is, like all of that stuff that I just don't think that we're gonna learn, because I don't really know if anybody knows what's happening in the book right now other than the people who are like actually doing it. But yeah, she was kidnapped by these like 3 random dudes, and you have no idea who they are, and then she was rescued by some random dude and you don't know who he is, and so it's like, what is actually happening right now? But side note, if anybody else has a Kindle out there, do any of these ads like really freak you out sometimes? For context, and for those of you who don't have a Kindle, basically Amazon makes you sign this thing before you buy one that says like, yes, I agree that Amazon can put ads on my Kindle, and if I don't want the ads anymore, I have to pay $25 to remove the ads from my Kindle. And it's like so stupid. It's not a big deal, like it doesn't bother me, but some of the ads are so weird, and for like really weird books too. Like I think only like 1 out of 10 times I've gotten a book recommended to me from an Amazon ad on my Kindle that I actually recognized, and it's really odd. But this one, maybe we can make a game out of this. Every time I pick up my Kindle, we'll see what ad pops up. But this one says, magical midlife madness, a woman starting over, a house with an unexpected twist, a cape-wearing butler acting as the world's worst life coach. I'm sorry, but what is that? I don't understand. But anyway, I am 89% of the way through, so I'm literally almost done. I'm on page 460 out of, what did I say earlier? 497 is how many pages there are. But yeah, I'm almost done. I'll probably definitely finish it tonight. And then I need to see, actually, where's my phone? It's in my pocket. I want to know how long it would take to get the copy of the second book from my library. I haven't decided if I want to actually like pay money and get the physical copies of these books, because if you haven't seen them in person, they're like thick books. And like, yeah, you can get the first 5 for not very much money on Amazon, but I just like, I don't know if I have the space for that. So I'm kind of debating as to whether I really want to get all of them, like physically. Anyway, so at my library, it says if I place a hold on this title, it should be ready to borrow in about 4 weeks. So I'm gonna place a hold, and we'll see how long it takes. If any of those people who are reading it right now are like me, it's gonna take the whole amount of time because it took me the whole amount of time to get to this book. Yeah, let's place a hold honestly on number 3 as well because why not, right? Anyway, back on track now. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the book and I will get back to you with closing thoughts once I am done. Okay, I'm back about a half an hour later and now my Kindle is advertising the Elemental series box set by Shannon Meyer. The first 3 books in this best-loved series plus bonus novella and bonus never before published review of Recurve. That's not as interesting or scary as the one that it gave me when I turned my camera off, which I didn't share with you, which was something like ravishing romance or something, and it had like a shirtless, like really like built guy on the front. Gotta love those adult romance book covers. But I finished the book and I liked it. I would give it like a solid like 4 stars, to be honest. It was good. It definitely wasn't my favorite like middle grade story that I've ever read, and obviously it was the first book in the series, so it was like the introduction to the world and like everything like that. So I have a feeling that the next book or 2 might be better because there's more that can be done now that you like know what's happening and like don't have to be reintroduced to everything again. I liked how the story ended and how the, you know, character arc of Sophie wrapped up in the end of the first book, how she went from being somebody who never truly fit in or felt like she belonged, always felt like a bit of an outcast because she was a child prodigy and stuff like that, to by the end of it, you know, feeling like she was finally home. I love that. So cute, makes me happy. I love it. And like I said, I'm really eager to get to the second book. This book that I actually read had a sneak preview of book 2, and I found myself starting to read it before I really realized that I don't typically do that. When I get sneak previews of books at the end of other books, I usually wait until I get the next book to read it, right? If that makes sense. So I don't usually read the sneak previews, but for this one I just found myself like continuing to read, and so I want to read it, but apparently I have to wait 4 weeks before my library will let me have it. So do I cave? Do I buy the box set on Amazon? Let me know in the comments. You guys be my bad influence so that it's not my decision. I can blame it on you if I decide I want to buy it. Not sure if I should start another book during this vlog or if I should just keep it at Keeper of the Lost Cities. I feel like I should start another book. I feel like if I ended it here, this vlog would be boring. So what should I read? I will think on it and I will come back with whether I decided to continue with another book or to just not do anything and just leave it at that. Okay, so it's been a couple days since I last talked to you guys and I have made a decision regarding what I'm going to do with this vlog. I'm going to be talking kind of low right now so that my mom doesn't come in and ask, who are you talking to, like she normally does. I've decided that I am going to continue with this vlog by rereading The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. And if you've never heard of that book, where have you been? I feel like I've been talking about it in every video recently. So if you're not interested in this, go ahead and click out of this video. But if you want to keep going and hear all of my thoughts, spoilery, non-spoilery, you know, whatever it may be. Why did my camera just zoom out? All of that was weird. Stick around, and if not, you can click away out of this video. I don't mind. And yeah, I'm really excited. I've wanted to reread this book. I forgot a lot of what happened, and I figured now is a great time to do it so I can film it at the same time. So let's go. Also, if you didn't know what book I was talking about, here it is. You've seen it before on my channel. This is nothing new. We're gonna take it and we're going to love it. Okay, you guys, so it has been a couple days since I last talked to you, but I've made a decent chunk of the way, not really a decent chunk, but a little chunk of the way through The Last Magician, so I think it's finally time to start talking about it. Currently on page 117. If you're unfamiliar with the book, let me share with you what this is about, because it's so good. There's a reason why it's one of my favorite series, and it's just so good. So essentially the book starts out with actually not an Esta chapter, but I'm gonna start out talking about Esta. So Esta's a young girl and she was taken in by a guy named Professor Lachlan, who she refers to sometimes as the professor, which makes me think of Money Heist, which is totally irrelevant to this video, so let's move on before I start thinking about Money Heist too much. So yeah, she was taken in by this guy named Professor Lachlan, and she's been trained as a thief for some sort of agenda that he has. She has the power to stop time for a few seconds and, you know, do things, and that's why she's a great thief. So that's where the main part of the story comes in. Essentially, this world is about, you know, people with magic and people who don't have magic. So the regular people and the magus. I forgot what the regular people are called, but the magus all have different abilities. So you can stop time, you can sense other people's affinities, you can, you know, I can't even remember what some of the other ones are. So yeah, the magus and the normal people, and essentially there's this thing called the Order, which has, you know, made it its mission to eradicate magic and like the magus. But they use a completely wrong kind of magic, right, in order to create this thing called the Brink over New York City, which essentially if any magus decides to leave, they will have their powers ripped from them, and that's that. That's the backstory for you. So the whole point of the story starts with Esta, and Professor Lachlan has a task for her. You know, he's been sending her and Logan, who's another boy that he took in, to these different time periods because she can travel through time when she's got this like stone thing. I'm not gonna get too much into detail, but she's been sending them to these different time periods in order to get these different artifacts for him. So he's clearly got some kind of other agenda going on, and he decides to send her back to her final destination, 1902 in New York, right at the time when this big heist is happening, because he needs her to get a hold of this book. It's the book with the capital B. That's how it's referred to in this book. It's called the Ars Arcana, I think, and this book holds the key to being able to bring down the Order and destroy the Brink and allowing Magus to go free and to save magic. So Esta has to get herself on this team, get into this heist so that she can prevent the person, the magician, who betrays the group, steals the book, and throws himself off a bridge at the beginning of the story. That's kind of like how the preface starts. In case you wanted a really in-depth like description of the story, there you go. So this book follows multiple perspectives. You follow kind of like all different types of people as you're going through the story. Initially though, the perspectives are Dolph Saunders, who is the leader of the group that starts the heist. You follow Esta, who is obviously the thief, time traveler girl. And then you follow Hart Darrigan, who is my personal favorite, who is the magician during this time. But the more that I keep reading, the more that I'm remembering things, which is great. And I do remember like a couple of the big moments that happen in this story, so I'm really excited to get to them. Esta has just gotten to 1902. She's found the person that she was supposed to find in order to get to Dolph Saunders, and Hart and Esta just had their first interaction, which is the best interaction. Sometimes the moments like what happens in the story can be really cheesy and really like cliche, but then sometimes you just read them and you're like, I like this. I love it here because I love Hart Darrigan, I love Esta, I love this story. Okay, so I got a pretty decent ways into the story. I'm a little bit more than halfway done, like a little bit more, and I got to one of my favorite parts. And I was so excited. So anyway, it's the second time that Esta and Hart see each other. Nibs takes Esta to one of Hart's shows because Hart is a magician and Nibs is just another character. And he uses her as a volunteer in one of the acts. And so he kind of like does something and then she does something and then she ends up like tricking him. And it's just like so good because they're both like so confused still as to what the other person can do with their affinities. It's just one of the best scenes for me because I love any scene with Esta and Hart in it. I feel like they have such good chemistry and there's like such romantic tension there and I love it. It's so good. We learned more about Jinyu and Viola, who are both people in his crew as well. And what I'm realizing as I'm reading this for a second time is when I read it the first time around, I imagined all of these characters as so much older than they really are. Like in the story, I think Hart mentions that somebody is like, you know, 19, only a few years older than me, and I'm like, wait, how old are you? Like, I really thought that you were like 19 or 20, and in reality Hart's like probably 17, and I'm like, I keep forgetting I'm reading a YA story. Oh, and the only other thing that I wanted to talk about was I forgot how much of Hart's backstory is hidden from you throughout a majority of this book, because I'm literally just now halfway through the story and we're finally learning more about him, what his affinity is, his like where he came from, who his mom is, like that kind of thing. And it's really annoying me, the fact that it's taking so long to learn about this person. I could not remember anything about Hart for the longest time, and I don't know why. I totally forgot what his affinity was. I totally forgot his backstory. I totally forgot what kind of a character he was. I don't know why, because I really liked him when I first read this story. So I'm really happy that I'm rereading. It's like bringing back memories, and I'm just excited to see the heist go down. We did have one like smaller heist scene, which was great. I loved it, and I totally forgot that it happened, but I loved it. And now Esta just has to try to get Hart on the team in order to perform the bigger, more important heist that has to do with the book. So excited to keep reading. Okay, so I tried to vlog outside for a little bit, and it was kind of a fail because there was too much wind and the light was too bright and things were happening. So here we are, back in my same spot as usual. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put it where I don't have to hold the camera up the whole time. No, I don't like it over there. Okay, guess we're going onto the floor, everybody. Oh, that's a great angle. Okay, please ignore how like not good my hair looks right now. We're just gonna move past that. So in The Last Magician, I am on page 356, and I feel like I'm moving very slowly through this book. I don't know why that is, whether it's just because it's like a fantasy that I don't remember a lot of, so I'm moving slowly to make sure I catch everything, or it's just that kind of book that like I can't really fly through it very quickly, but I feel like I should have finished it by now and I haven't, so we're gonna try to remedy that. That's the word I'm looking for, right? One thing I want to point out though is that I am realizing how many blatant things I missed that would have revealed the ending to me early on when I read this book originally. All of the foreshadowing that I missed in this book is astounding to me. And now that I'm rereading it and I know how it ends and I know what the next one is about, it's like finding the little like pieces that were just thrown in there, you know, when like you weren't supposed to remember that it was mentioned in the beginning, but it's like one line of like dialogue or something, and it's just like you pass by it and you're like, oh, no big deal. But now my eyes like latch onto it and I'm like, oh my god, how did I miss this? Yeah, you can say I'm a little angry at past me for not noticing, but also like you were meant to not notice, so I can't be too mad, but still, it's frustrating to me. I'm like, come on. Anyway, so one of the things that I like the most about the like midpoint on toward the end of the book is that you get a lot more Hart and Esta content, which I am here for. I love Hart and Esta with all of my heart. Esta is like super impulsive and she thinks that she always knows like the right thing to do, but then sometimes it ends up turning out to be the wrong thing to do, and then she has to face the consequences, and she's very used to all of that happening because she does it constantly. And Hart is very like secretive. He has, you know, things that are important to him that he doesn't want anybody else to know, so he puts on a show of being, you know, confident and arrogant, but Esta can kind of like see through the mask, or not really see through it, but see that it's clearly a mask. And so they kind of like disarm one another all the time. Like Esta disarms Hart with how like modern she is in a way, because like obviously she's from the 21st century, she's not from the 1900s. Like she does things that like, you know, are inappropriate for women of that time period, and so it like always disarms Hart, and he's like, whoa, what the hell? And then, you know, Hart disarms Esta because he sometimes like reveals things about himself that he doesn't mean to, and she's like, wow, I didn't realize that this is what he was really like. And so it's so good. It's so good. And I totally forgot that they honestly have kind of like a very like butting heads relationship in the beginning, to where it's almost like not so much enemies to lovers, but it's somewhat, and it's like dislike to friend to lover, if that makes sense. And it's great. I'm here for it. I love it. I also forgot how like intricate some of this story is, because we do follow so many different characters. On top of Esta and Hart, we also follow Dolph, and then you've got Viola, who's kind of like his assassin in a way, and Jinyu, who's like his spy, and then you've got Nibs. I do want to get into something a little bit spoilery, so I will go ahead and put the book cover in one of the corners here. That way if you haven't read this book and you want to and you don't want to be spoiled, you won't for the little moment that I talk about this. But for those of us who have read this book before, it is astounding to me that I could not tell that the singular point of view that we do not follow, sorry, that was my book sliding to the floor. The singular point of view that we do not follow in this whole book out of the entire group is Nibs. How did I not see that Nibs was going to have some sort of plot twist, some sort of it is astounding to me. And also there was a line where Esta was talking about the Professor Lachlan, with Hart, when Hart was like, you know, yo, I read your mind, like, who the hell is this guy? And then she told him he has a knack for seeing things that are about to happen. How did I not put two and two together? How did I not put together that Nibs, who also has a knack for seeing things that are about to happen, is Professor Lachlan? And I get that, like, you weren't supposed to, because obviously the time periods wouldn't match up. Like, somebody from 1902 would not be, you know, as young as Professor Lachlan is in the 21st century, like in modern time. But I can't. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and come on here and just make this little update because they are going to start getting into like the main heist soon, and so I wanted to make sure that I got everything that was on my mind out of the way before I start talking about that in whatever next clip there's going to be. And yeah, I'm still really liking the story. It is a bit slower than I remember it being. For some reason I remember just like flying through this as fast as possible, and I think that was because I'd never read it before, and now I'm like, you know, anticipating the things that are going to happen. Oh, hi. Hi. How are you? Hi. Okay. Okay. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go because I don't think that he's gonna leave anytime soon, so I'll talk to you guys later when I maybe finish the book. You're literally blocking the entire camera frame, Maverick. Are you happy with yourself? I was literally just about to get ready to like put all my pajamas on and like go and eat dinner and all of that, and I totally forgot that I finished the book and I forgot to update my vlog. So yeah, I finished The Last Magician like literally 10-15 minutes ago, and it was just as good as I remembered. Yes, this is a heist book. Yes, it's a fantasy, historical fiction, there's time travel, all of that stuff. But the romance, the slow burn romance is everything. Oh my god, I love it so much. I love at the beginning of the story how Hart and Esta are like at odds with one another and always butting heads, and by the end he's like, it's so good. I can't even explain. And then on top of that, just like the plot twists and the turns and like the last, I want to say 50 pages, so much is revealed and so much is like twisted and turned, and you don't know like what is happening and what the floors are now on the ceiling. It's just like everything just happens at once, and it happens so fast that you're like literally given whiplash. It's crazy. And this is like one of the reasons why I always say this is such an underrated fantasy series. There's just so much going on in the story that I do not understand how more people aren't reading this series. It's so good. And of course, as with all books, because not every book is going to be for every person, I have heard some people say that they can't get into this series, which I totally understand, and like, you know, you do you, like maybe it's not for you. The beginning is a bit slow, but I promise you, once you get into it and once you start understanding the characters and their motivations and like who they are and like where the story is going, is so good. The only thing that I would say, having now reread and like paid more attention to the details, is that the magic system is a little confusing to me. Like, even having read this book twice, there's just a lot of stuff about the order and how they use magic and like what magic is exactly in this world that's just kind of confusing still. One of the characters described it as the people who are using the wrong type of magic, as in the order, they're taking the whole and they're breaking it up into bits and pieces that make it more manageable to control, if that makes sense. And then the magus, or the people who are like born with affinities and stuff like that, can use the spaces between the whole without having to separate it. It's weird. It's very confusing, and like I said, I've read this book twice and still don't like fully grasp it, or like a lot of the history that, you know, gets info dumped on you toward the end, but I still love the story nonetheless. Like, you guys know I'm a sucker for like any sort of romance. Like, I love fantasy, so it's like you put those together and I am bound to just like blow off all of the little details that I don't understand and focus on the thing that I'm here for, which is Hart and Esta. Which is probably not a good way that a reader should go about, you know, getting into a book, especially somebody who reviews books like me, but I can't help what I am, okay? So yeah, that is 2 books done for a reading vlog that took me way longer than it should have to film, so hopefully I'll be able to get this up this week or next week. I don't really know what's happening. You probably don't even know what week I'm filming this. It's fine, just go with it. Definitely looking forward to reading the second book in the Keepers of the Lost Cities series. I was about to say trilogy, but that is definitely not a trilogy. And then getting to The Devil's Thief, which is the second book in the Last Magician series. That one is actually a trilogy, so I don't know why I said series. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to really say. So have you guys read either of these books? Do you have any opinions? Definitely let me know in the comments. Anyway, okay, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna stop talking now. If you guys want to follow me on any of my socials, all my handles are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye!